Okay, so Mike, tell me a little bit about the history of the rival Super Bowl halftime performances, because the Turning Point one was not the first time that this has happened.
Baker, the Turning Point show was actually the first time in 32 years that an entity has tried to challenge the Super Bowl halftime show. It was done very successfully back in 1992 by a startup network called Fox, which didn't even have the NFL at the time. At the time, the NFL was doing these lame-o marching bands and Dorothy Hamill and all this type of stuff. So Fox came out with a live performance of the sketch comedy show in living color, and it drew 20 million viewers. Well, that certainly got the attention of the NFL because the next year they got Michael Jackson, the king of pop, to do the show, and the show has been this magnificent star-filled extravaganza ever since.
Look, Mike, we only know the YouTube numbers for the Turning Point show, which they say was around 5 to 6 million. I know they were having some issues with X, and I know they were on a bunch of other smaller cable providers. But I
Right.
guess, would you look at the 5 or 6 million that showed up to watch this as a success, given the fact that Bad Bunny probably is going to have 10 to 20 times that amount, likely what we saw with Kendrick Lamar the previous year?
I would. I mean, Baker, when they came out literally after the game started and said, uh-oh, we're not doing it on Twitter, I was like, oh my God, this thing's falling apart. But look, they proved with their 5 or 6 million concurrent viewers that there is an audience out there that wanted an alternative to Bad Bunny. Turning Point USA already says they're planning another one last year. So I think what's happening here, Baker, the net is that the idea of an alternative halftime show is suddenly viable again. People aren't just going to go automatically to the NFL halftime show. If there's something else they can watch or an act that they don't like, as some people didn't like Bad Bunny, they do have an option.
Yeah, and I almost wonder, Mike, regardless of if people enjoyed the Bad Bunny performance or not, given the fact that Turning Point did this and they saw good numbers, I guess this just now opened the door every year that we're going to have now rival halftime programming, regardless of who's going to be the performer.
Yeah, I think it could happen. I mean, I think the performer is a huge thing. When you have Bruce Springsteen, U2, Michael Jackson, Janet Jackson, I mean, it's hard to compete against them. And the thing about Bad Bunny is conservative viewers in the MAGA crowd really didn't know who he is. Tell you the truth, I didn't know who he is. I didn't follow his music before this. So I think the fact that he was relatively unknown by a lot of the American population opened the door a crack, and then Turning Point kicked it in.
And then I guess, Roger Goodell was sort of trying to downplay during the whole week, maybe a lot of the attention about Bad Bunny from his Grammy speech, where he had famously said, ice out. That, Roger Goodell had said, look, Bad Bunny knows this the platform that we're giving him. He understands the significance of all of this. I guess, having said that, and now having watched the Bad Bunny halftime show, would you say that the NFL is happy with how things all went out with him?
I think very happy. I mean, I think the tell was that Monday press conference you just referenced, Baker, where Goodell did not seem concerned whatsoever. I mean, the guy had literally just been on the Grammy Awards and said "ice out." You had Green Day making, shooting their mouths off about Donald Trump. I mean, this was shaping up to be a political convention, as it were. But I think the NFL knew, or Jay Z knew, or both, that these people were going to toe the line on Super Bowl Sunday and try to do a unifying event, and they did. So, one of the biggest news coming out of both of these halftime shows is how apolitical they were. Bad Bunny shot his shot at the Grammys with the ice out. I didn't see anything that he did or said that was controversial. Same for Green Day, and even the Turning Point USA. Besides a couple of references to trans, and of course, a salute to the slain Charlie Kirk. That steered clear of politics. So I think we all expected, these kind of clashing culture wars to come together on Super Bowl Sunday. But it's kind of like going to a hockey game, Baker, where we expect a big fight to break out and it never does. That's what happened.
Mike, any other final thoughts or things that you noticed or you want to mention?
I think, what I mean. The game is going to be hard pressed to set a new record. For 3 years in a row, Baker, the Super Bowl has set a record as for most watched game. And last year, in fact, Kendrick Lamar, the Super Bowl halftime show, outdrew the game itself. But this game was such a flop, such a stinker, so dull. It's going to be hard pressed for NBC to make those numbers. We'll see tomorrow.
That is such a valid point, Mike, because, at some point you never know where the ceiling is. And it's like, how much higher can the ceiling possibly get? I guess my thought was interesting when I saw, I think it was a tweet from Dylan Byers that two of the people that were inside Roger Goodell's booth yesterday were the CEO of Google and the CEO of YouTube. I almost wonder, is that a precursor to where they're going to find extra new viewers at down the road?
Or a precursor to a streamed Super Bowl
Mm-hmm.
at our Tuned In Live conference. Jay Marine of Amazon was pretty direct. I asked him, "Does Amazon Prime want a Super Bowl one day?" He was like, "Absolutely."
Mm-hmm.
So we all know that the NFL is going to opt out early from its media deals, and when you see the Netflixes and the Googles and the Primes all hanging around the Super Bowl, you can see where this is heading. Goodell wants the level of viewership for the streamers to reach that of legacy networks. And once that happens, all bets are off.